it's going to be cold, and the rut is going to be great.
Nice 10, come out, Jason, some goes around.
I don't care where those bucks are going to come from or where you think they're going to come from. No matter what, they're not going to stop until they get to that downwind side.
Oh, that's a big buck, buddy.
By the last week of October, the whitetail woods will be bare of leaves, making it much easier for hunters to spot approaching deer. Sparring is a rare occurrence now, as most mature bucks are wound too tightly to even stand the sight of another male. And with dominance hierarchies in place, the buck that knows he's the subordinate will quickly tuck tail and run from any threatening adversary. At this time, it's not uncommon for the first batch of does to come into heat, sending local bucks into a frenzy. This is just a warm-up for what's soon to come when a dozen or so females in a given area all come into heat at once. The bucks will run 24 hours a day on those first does, and they won't let up until mating season is over. This week should be the kickoff to an exciting few weeks of rut hunting, with the rutting moon falling on October 28th, and they're calling for an earlier than normal rut, with peak activity occurring around November 4th and continuing through November 14th. The seeking phase is predicted to begin around October 23rd, the chasing phase to begin around October 27th. The tending breeding phase, also known as lockdown, should be expected to begin around November 8th. The woods may be on fire with pre-rutting activity come later this week. Couple these factors with a few different cold fronts pushing across much of the US and Canada on various days in the next 2 weeks, you'll see obvious spikes in activity, and the major activity predictions are following suit. DeerCast and HuntStand are predicting higher than normal activity across much of whitetail country this weekend and into the middle of next week, while the Moon Guide presents a red moon kicking off on the 30th, with major activity periods coinciding with the morning hunts, which is often a recipe for success when rutting activity begins to climb.
So if you want an exciting way to hunt white-tailed deer, there's nothing more exciting than using a buck decoy during key times of the hunting season. All right, so the first thing you need to do is you need to clean your decoy. If it's brand new, you got to get the new production smells off of it. If it's been in storage, you want to get all of those smells off. So take yourself some sort of body wash shampoo that you would for hunting, something scent-free, a stiff brush, and give him a good scrub down and bath. And then let him air out for 2 or 3 days to get some of the natural smells into him and get, again, more of that, whatever is in the materials out of him. You want your decoy to be as scent-free as possible. All right, so where and how are we gonna set up a decoy? Well, typically I like to get in an area where there's visibility. You don't really wanna use a wood setting or in a tight little opening somewhere, because what happens is when a buck sees a decoy in a tight setting, he's often startled. And the last thing you wanna do is startle your buck. So I like getting in a wide setting where if a deer steps out 50 yards or 100 yards down, he can see and assess the situation and prepare himself to come in and engage with the decoy. This is an ideal setting here. I've got a big clover food plot. I've got a brassica plot down here off to my left. I got a woods line that wraps around from my right and comes in here behind me. If a deer stepped out and saw the decoy, he can assess the situation and decide whether or not he wants to engage the decoy. So as a bow hunter, I typically set my decoy out 20 to 25 yards out in front of me, and I want the wind blowing from the decoy back to my setting. So in this case, I got my decoy in front of me. I got a big tree back here. Let's say I hung a stand up in that tree. I got that wind blowing straight from the decoy to me. And we'll talk a little bit about sense and the reason here in a moment. I also want to set this decoy up typically so that he is quartering to me one way or another. Because what a buck typically does is he circles in between. He wants to get downwind of the decoy, and they will approach either from the backside or the front side. It really doesn't matter, but what they do like to do is they like to get downwind. So if he comes in from this way or comes in from this way, and I'm right there and I've got him at 25 yards, then I typically end up with a shot anywhere from say 18 to 22 yards before he either decides to disengage with the decoy and bolt because he doesn't like the situation, or he decides he wants to actually attack the decoy. So those are the fundamentals of using a buck decoy when you're out whitetail hunting. It can be a very exciting and exhilarating way to hunt deer, especially if you're filming or if you're just a guy who just likes watching deer engage with other deer, or in this case, a decoy. So get out there, get your decoy, don't be afraid to get it set up, get a little bit aggressive on them, and you may just kill the buck of your dreams.
In order for a synchronized rut to occur, 3 things need to align around November 1st, plus or minus 3 days. Doe estrogen levels will peak, buck's testosterone levels peak, and the rutting moon falls near November 1st. According to the rutting moon theory, synchronized ruts are by far the most intense in terms of rutting behavior and activity and the longest lasting. As these days progress, you should be extending your sits in the mornings and the evenings. But don't throw it all in just yet. The best is yet to come. The 2023 Rut Report is proudly brought to you by these fine partners. Mossberg, since 1990. Taurus, award-winning pistols and revolvers. Pyramid Air, the right products for your needs. Raw Frozen Scents. Habit Outdoors. Forget Genetics. Reveal Cellular Cameras. SpyPoint Cameras. Stealth Cam, and Muddy Outdoors.